Hi, everybody. The course that I designed for this week is an Honors Algebra 2 Trig class that I'll be teaching next year. The course is a problem-based learning course, and we're not entirely ready. We're not ready to get rid of it altogether, the fact that it's a problem-based learning class. But what that's meant traditionally is that a lot of the learning and the content delivery happens through discussing solutions. So there is an asynchronous component because a lot of learning happens while students do the problems for homework, but then we come into class and we discuss them together, and that's where kind of the formalizing of concepts happen. And so it's a highly synchronous and collaborative way of doing mathematics. And so we're trying to think about how to maintain the ethos of a problem-based learning class while following the guidelines that are laid out in this boot camp. So again, where I started is in a course that is highly synchronous and highly collaborative. And where I am now is thinking more carefully about using synchronous time to intentionally build relationships and make students feel connected, while still keeping, again, some of that ethos of being a problem-based learning course. And then using asynchronous time really in building in much more student choice into asynchronous time, while also paying attention to building relationships. So here, for example, is a show not tell idea that I had for asynchronous time. So this is, they would choose a problem that they worked on in that week or that cycle or whatever it is. They would choose either one that they were really proud of, one that was really hard, and in fact, they could even still be stuck on it, and then their video would be up until here's where I got stuck and here's what my questions are, or one where they made a meaningful mistake, and they can talk through that a little bit. So the idea is that they would have choice. They would make a Flipgrid video that students could respond to. There is a high likelihood that we'll have a hybrid model where some students are remote and some are in the building. And we don't know yet if they're going to be in the same section or in different sections. And so also trying to make those connections between the students who are in the building and those that are remote, who may eventually come into the building later. So it's just thinking about a lot of that. I also, again, thinking about building relationships. Here's a community building one. This one has some asynchronous steps, but it is much more synchronous. And I'd have to think again, if we're in a hybrid model, of how to do that. But it's about learning about, it uses the Compass Points activity that comes out of NSRF. And it's about learning about yourself, learning about each other, learning about collaboration, and doing mathematics kind of all embedded into the steps. So it would happen over a couple of different synchronous meetings. But it's something I'm excited about. I've done it in the classroom before, and I'm kind of excited to see how it works in this new context. Again, with asynchronous time, thinking much more about choice. I thought about playlists, not packets. And so here's kind of what could be just what a daily assignment might look like. So building in some differentiation. So I might have some students that still need some of the practice Algebra 2 Trig. We don't have a ton of choice in terms of content, but students could still choose what to do with that content. So some of the foundational skills early on that we work on, they could choose, like, do they still need practice? They could watch this video, this article, again, trying to build in choice there, then do some practice problems. Are they ready for a challenge? They could work on these two problems instead. Or do they want to do something totally different? They could build their own which one doesn't belong. I don't know if you're familiar with that. These are which one doesn't belongs, and the trick to which one doesn't belongs is that you can give a reason for each of them. There's a reason that each of them doesn't belong. So they're sort of fun to create, and they take a lot of thought and care to create. So they would do one that involves factoring quadratics. So again, it's not really content choice in the way that GOA encourages, but it is choice on how to showcase where you are, and a choice in how you're practicing the different skills. So that's one of my big, again, takeaways for asynchronous time. It's also, this week has made me think about assessment really differently, in terms of assessment being more about students creating something. And so I thought that one of the things they could do is they could create a card sort. So a card sort is a tool that I've used for students to practice an idea or think carefully through an idea, see connections between ideas, or a lot of Algebra 2 Trig is connections between the algebraic representation and the graph. So making sure they can, card sort that way. And why not have them make their own as an assessment? So they would make their own, they would share it out with other students. So the other students would actually try to do the card sort. So that's the exhibition piece. I don't have the details of that worked out. And then they would also share out the solution by making a video answer key. What I like about this is that it will work in a hybrid class where some students are asynchronous and some students are synchronous. Or some students are in the building, they could still, they're each working on this. They can still share this with each other. This is ultimately going to be on a computer. So I was pretty excited about this. One thing that I think is missing from all these things that I'm showing are the personal touches. I'm really hoping to build in more videos. I have to figure out, our LMS feels a little limiting to me, so I'm just trying to figure out how to build in introductory videos, especially for those students who are remote, so they're not just reading through the assignment, but they're hearing me kind of talk through, hey, this is the assignment, and this is why we're doing it, and here are your choices, and then they can also have it in writing. I think that'll help. So that was one of my other big takeaways, is being intentional about building relationships in the classroom, but also with that asynchronous time and how those personal touches can make a difference. So thank you so much. I've had a thought-provoking week and a lot to think about this summer as I get ready for the fall. Thanks.